by Progressive Insurance. Hello, Michelle Smallman, Chris Canty, Evan Cohen with you. Congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines.
Let's go!
National champions. Now, hold on a second.
Big Ten.
I have an announcement. We have two Michigan fans on this show.
Yes.
One by marriage in Chris
correct.
Canty, and the other one by education and by where he's from in Javante Lawrence. He's from Michigan, and he went to Michigan.
So he's an alum.
He's an alum, but hold on.
By education.
By marriage.
One by education.
Well, it worked with the...
it's called being an alum.
I'm a fan by way of education.
Well, when I said by way of marriage, I had to say by way of something else is what I'm going with. But here's the thing.
We see what you're trying to do.
We got it.
Well, I mean, it failed, but...
I like it.
One would think you're a sports talk radio producer on a national platform like ESPN Radio,
Yes.
ESPN2. We are so fortunate to be here every day, right?
Yeah.
We earned our fortunate enough to be here, but we're fortunate enough to be here.
Yeah.
Javante fell asleep.
No.
Whoa, Javante, come on, bro.
Javante.
Come on, bro. Say it ain't so.
What happened is it was halftime. I'm like, up late, so I'll take about maybe a 10-minute nap, and then that turned into a waking up. It was like maybe 10 minutes in the third quarter. I'm like, oh, that was nice. But according to Pat, nothing happened in the third quarter, so apparently they held up the game while I was asleep. So.
Oh, no, something happened.
It all worked out.
It was all good for Michigan. It was bad things happening for Michael Penix Jr. in Washington.
But you
Something
can't
happened.
fall asleep, though. If you're a
No,
fan of the
hold
team,
on.
you got to put yourself in a position. You can't go in the bed or anything.
No, I'm with you on that one, man, because after the second interception by Penix in the red zone where Sanistrell runs it down inside the 5, it's 11 o'clock at night. The game is over. They got a 2-touchdown lead, and they're going in to score another one. I'm like, let's cut the TV off, babe. She's like, you can go to bed and cut the TV off. I'm going to go out in the living room and finish watching the game and watch the confetti fall.
Yeah.
I said, are you serious? She's like, absolutely.
Yes, that's what you do.
You know how long I've been waiting for this?
Right.
Yes.
Like, I mean, so it was a moment for her. And it was pretty cool to see like her be really excited about it. She's not the biggest sports fan, but she got fired up about this. The group chat is popping all night long. They're going back and forth. They're holding their breath when Odunze is wide open. Unfortunately, Penix couldn't hit any of those throws, but it didn't necessarily feel like Michigan was threatened at any point in that game last night.
No, and I thought it was kind of anticlimactic. When Washington came within, I believe it was a touchdown before halftime, I thought, okay, they're starting to find their life again because that offense looked very uncharacteristic from what we've seen out of Washington and Michael Penix Jr. for the entire season. And I thought, okay, this is when they're going to kind of course correct, and they're going to come back in the second half with a vengeance. This is going to be a battle in the second half, and it was anything but that.
Yeah, let's walk through this game for people like Javante who were asleep last night. So Michigan's up 17-10 at the half, but a reminder, they're up 17-3 because they had dominant runs early on in this game. Donovan Edwards with 2 runs, 40-plus yards each for touchdowns early on, and you're thinking at that moment, 17-3, it's over. It's another blowout.
Yes.
Because, by the way, and this game finished 34-13 Michigan. If you look at the last 10 national championship games since the playoff has started, the average margin of victory for a title game is 20.1 points per game. Now, let's take out last year because of the blowout that Georgia TCU, 15.8 points per game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every one of these ends up not being close. So that's where your mind goes at 17-3. And I know, CC, that's where your mind went of, oh, this is going to be over pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, after the first quarter when Michigan had a $175 rushing, I was like, yeah, there's no way that Washington can slow them down. And if you can't stop Don Edwards or Blake Corum, you got no shot at being able to beat Michigan. But the thing that caught me off guard was how Michigan's defensive front was able to apply pressure on Michael Penix Jr. Like, this offensive line won the Best Offensive Line of the Year award in college football, and yet they allowed Michael Penix to be under duress the whole night. I don't know who number 73, the right tackle for Washington, is, but he owes his teammates an apology in that locker room because he was god-awful last night, especially in the second half. It felt like every other play, the refs were throwing a penalty on him for holding or false start or whatever.
I don't think he knew the snap count. I'm not kidding. He stopped, or he didn't start, and everybody else
and everybody else was going.
He's the opposite of the
You
Chiefs
do
right
realize
tackle.
you're in a national championship game and you're down.
Very
Your
odd.
quarterback needs you to get off the ball and actually block somebody rather than trying to hold everyone. But here's the thing. When that defense was able to pressure him as many times as they did, I think they had 18 pressures on 53 dropbacks from Michael Penix. When they were able to apply pressure and come from different angles, whether it was interior or off the edge, I just thought that kept the rhythm of that passing game off balance enough to have Michael Penix second-guessing some of his reads, and you could see he was just a little bit off fraction of a second, ball placement not quite right. You can attribute that to the rush from Michigan, and that was the perfect example of rush and coverage working together. Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator, did a phenomenal job of being able to call that game and keep that Washington offense off balance. Didn't allow a lot of explosive plays. And I thought when they starved that Washington offense from the explosive plays, that was the biggest difference in the game.
And at 17-3 in that second quarter, on a fourth down, Michigan goes for it. Incomplete pass. Washington comes down and scores 17-10. All of a sudden, you're thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be a game. We start the second half. First play of the second half, Michael Penix Jr. throws an interception, and now Michigan builds on their lead. But if you think about it, really what happened here, the fourth downs throughout the game were an issue, right, in terms of non-conversions, decisions to go for it, not go for it, and then we had a late holding call in a one-score game on Washington on what was going to be a big play, 30-plus yards, but a holding call negated it, and that really ended the game right then and there, and Michigan just continued to pound the football and ended up winning 34-13. So the holding, the bad offensive line play, as you mentioned, the great running game from Michigan. J.J. McCarthy was fine. If that,
I mean, he was good.
He had a big run.
Yeah, he was good at being able to manage the game. And on that the first third down conversion of the game came in the second half, and that was a big scramble by him.
Yes.
I mean, and that was able to keep a drive alive and allowed them to eat up more clock. But it was all about the ground game. It was all about the offensive line. They finished with over 300 yards rushing, 231 yards before contact.
Wow.
That's the second most in the last 5 years in college football. Like, it was absolutely a masterclass with those guys up front, and their offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore, he emphasized the importance of that group from the start of the season, how they were the ones that had to set the tone for what this team would be. And it was clear that they took that message to heart last night in that dominant performance. They did a great job of keeping Washington off balance in terms of different formations, pre-snap motion. I thought Washington's defense got caught up in looking at the window dressing, and they didn't realize that they were about to get punched in the mouth by that offensive line. And that's exactly how it started, and that's how it ended. When you win the physical battle in dominant fashion like Michigan did last night, of course the outcome of the game is going to be one-sided.
Yeah, you won the battle at the line, and you really didn't need J.J. McCarthy to do all that much when you had the ground game be so exceptional. Like you mentioned, Blake Corum was obviously outstanding. Donovan Edwards, he averaged 17.3 yards per carry. He finished with 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was absolutely ridiculous last night, and I love the way that Michigan won this game. As somebody from the Midwest, this just felt so Michigan. It just felt so Big Ten, a stifling defense.
It did feel Big Ten.
Didn't it?
It did.
A stifling defense,
yes.
Ground and pound, like a strong run game. This just felt like Big Ten football to me. And in a world where the landscape of college football is ever changing, and you have teams coming from all over, and what we know to be the Big Ten and the SEC, et cetera, doesn't feel the way it always did. I love that this felt like Big Ten football.
Now, you know the crazy part is both of those teams will represent Big Ten football next year.
I know.
Like both styles will be
Big Ten because it is Big Ten.
Both of those styles will be Big Ten next year. I mean, and that's the interesting part about it. And you wonder, can the program be able to sustain this level of success? And when you're asking that question, you have to also follow it up with another question: how long Jim Harbaugh is going to be there?
Well, I'm glad you asked, CC. Let's play some sound from the head coach, Jim Harbaugh, who wins a national championship last night, 40-3 in his last 3 years. Reminder, people in the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry somehow say winning that game in the regular season is better than winning last night, which I still don't understand for the life of me. But here is Jim Harbaugh on crossing the finish line with winning a national championship.
That was everything, you know. It was just, you know, that last phase line, that last one more game, you know, and we won it. And so such a one-track mind for our entire football team. I just love it. That was one of our goals, you know, win the next game. To have completed them all, you know, win the big games, win the Big Ten championship, you know, win the Rose Bowl, win the national championship. It just feels good. You just want to pull it down, you know. It's glorious. It's a glorious feeling.
He is an interesting character, that's for sure. Now, there's all the off-the-field stuff, right? There's the Connor Stallions, the Spygate stuff. Here's Harbaugh on those off-the-field issues and affecting the perception of the championship.
It couldn't have gone better. It went exactly how we wanted it to go, to win every game. The off-the-field issues were innocent, and we stood strong and tall because we knew we were innocent. And I just like to point that out. And these guys are innocent. yeah, overcome that. It wasn't that hard because we knew we were innocent.
There's Jim Harbaugh, who served 6-game suspension during the course of the season, 2 different 3-game suspensions, and there's an NCAA investigation going on currently.
Right.
So does this title have the asterisk? We have to ask. We knew we were going to ask it. This is months in the making.
I'm just laughing because nobody, and then Jim Harbaugh pops up and says, we're innocent.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about you winning the national championship. Nobody asked the question like, we're innocent.
Yeah.
My guys, we're innocent. We feel vindicated. We were innocent the whole time, and we were unjustly persecuted and all of this stuff. Jim, just enjoy the moment, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we're all celebrating you. The college football world is celebrating you. The confetti is coming down. What happens with the title down the road is going to be pending with the NCAA investigation. But guess what? Nobody can take this away from you. Nobody can unsee it. We all know who won the national championship for the 2023 season. It was Michigan. They proved that they were the best team. They beat the SEC champ. They beat an undefeated Pac-12 champ, which is joining the big. They were clearly the best team in the college football playoff, and they earned that. Nobody can take that away from them. With 2 separate suspensions and going through all of the controversy, they actually proved it on the field. So in my mind's eye, it's not a tainted championship. This is the national champion, whether you like it or not.
I don't think it's tainted either because they had success without Jim Harbaugh when he was serving that suspension. They beat Penn State. They beat Ohio State. They proved that they could do it without him. And then they proved that they could do it after he returned against the best talent in the entire country. So I don't think it's tainted. But I don't blame him for wanting to get his comments